All right, Colts fans, we are back with another episode of Into the DB Film Room with Hicks and Hag. We are here to talk about the Colts versus Jets. And, going into this game, I felt way more confident for this upcoming episode, this episode we're doing right now,
Yeah.
thinking, Mike White, and then what turned into be Josh Johnson, who I will say, give full credit to the guy. He's in his 30s right now. He's played for like 17 NFL teams.
Mm-hmm.
Just a great career, like in terms
Yep.
of just lasting.
But
Love Josh Johnson, but he shouldn't be toasting your defense for over 300 yards.
no, not at all. Not at all.
So I was a little more excited for this episode last week than what I am now. Just some warning for you guys. I mean, most of this episode's not going to be positive talk outside of a couple plays from Brock Yassin. It was just a rough one for the Colts defense. I mean, 30 points and over 300 yards passing to Josh Johnson and Mike White. I expected better. I don't know.
Hey, what Josh was like a hotly recruited quarterback a couple years ago out of the XFL or the AAF? Was it XFL?
Yeah.
Not XFL.
I feel like it was AAF was what
The
he was.
AAF because
Yeah, I think
he lit
was
it
a
up.
starter.
I forgot what team he was with. But I remember that year after I came back home, like everybody was talking about him. Like people wanted him as their backup quarterback, and I mean, I guess you could see why, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for him to be lighting up.
I will say when I was a Washington fan a couple years ago. I was watching late in the year. They had Mark Sanchez and all those guys come in because I think it was the year that Alex Smith got hurt.
Yeah.
So it was like throwing out random dudes. And Josh Johnson was the only one who looked like he knew what he was doing out there because he could move a little bit. He was a competitive dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So full credit to him for lasting as long as he has in the NFL. but not credit to the Colts defense for I don't even know. This might be his first career 300-yard passing game. I don't know. It wouldn't shock me if it was.
I wouldn't doubt it.
It was that kind of game for the Colts defense. But let's jump into some clips here, guys, and we're going to talk a little bit about what went on in this game because it was just it was going fine until the second half. There's a couple clips here we're going to show to start in the first half, and this one's with Mike White in the game. Got Xavier Rhodes, Andrew Sendejo over top, and this against Elijah Moore, who we talked about coming into this week. That you and I were both kind of excited to see.
Yep.
What the Colts defense did against him because a little 5'9" receiver who's lightning fast. And he actually had his biggest game of his NFL career. I think get over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. So
yeah. He's explosive, man. He was one of the more explosive receiver prospects. He was a guy I think if he would have won the first, people wouldn't have been shocked. But great player, great pickup by the Jets. And yeah, he did his thing.
Yeah. So this first one we got a deep in here against the Colts defense, and. Watching this from the untrained eye, I bet a lot of people would say, oh, this is all Xavier Rhodes needs to sit on this. Where I'm sure there are, Rhodes probably could have done a better job here. But what are you kind of seeing with this play here? Why is this such an easy completion for the Jets?
One, I think the safety a little bit over. He kind of overcommitted right here. If you rewind a little bit, you can see him. He's anticipating something, I guess, more vertical.
Mm-hmm.
So his eyes on the quarterback, but Elijah Moore did a great job. I know we were just talking about him. He did a great job of pressing Xavier vertical and making Xavier and the safety think that he's running a skinny post or a straight up route straight up the seam, and then he can stop on a dime. That was one of his best traits. And you get a guy who runs a 4.34, whatever it was, and can stop like that. You're gonna create separation. So you need help. There's not a lot of cornerbacks that can cover a guy that fast with that much grass in front of him when he's breaking. So the safety has to see that. But like I said, it was a tribute to Elijah Moore's speed and his ability to separate right there and get them both rolling back.
Yeah, and it's tough too when you look at the beginning of this route. You're in off-man coverage against this type of receiver, so you do have a couple of yards to give. But once he starts closing that space, once you get around. Right here, you're around even with the guy.
He's eating he ate up grass.
Yeah, he ate up that grass quick. And the Colts pressure does get there, but just a little late. But yeah, it's kind of tough. You'd want your safety to – here's the problem with having a safety who's not like a Julian Blackmon type. Sendejo, who's much, much slower than Julian Blackmon, is he just doesn't have the confidence to crash down or kind of, be aggressive on these type of plays because he knows that he doesn't have that speed. So you have two guys who just don't have that speed and have to be wary of all guys like Elijah Moore. and the result, you have them both opening up a little too early, and then just it's an easy completion over the middle.
Well, you have two slower guys on straight gas. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, not that Xavier's slow, but he's not, like we talk about it week in and week out. He's not the same Xavier Rhodes coming out of Florida State. And you got Sendejo, who ran a 4.6 coming out, I believe. So ain't no
Yeah, he's
telling
like
what he runs
33
now.
now or whatever.
Yeah,
So
no telling what he runs now. But Elijah Moore straight gas, and that's not the matchup that you want on two of your older, slower guys.
Yeah, for sure. Second one here, we're going to highlight Xavier Rhodes yet again. It seems like kind of the theme of this show, even though we're really not trying to trash him out each week, but there have been a couple clips like this year, and this one, from my opinion, he just gets completely lost. But what are you seeing on this here?
Yeah, just bad eyes. He's sinking. I don't know if that was at a cover 2 look right there or something.
I want to say it's cover 2 because Rock.
Yeah.
Okay. Rock's cover 2.
So they got a cover man too. Didn't get wide enough and had bad eyes, and by the time he realized it, Elijah Moore snuck behind him. Just not good from start to finish. Like I said, that speed is hard to account for. And when you think you're okay, you think that guy went to the flats and he out and ups it or wheels it up. You're in trouble because it's not a lot of people that can catch up with him.
Yeah, for sure. And something I want to add here is, because of Madden and a bunch of other things, people, when they hear cover 2, it's like, okay, cool. Corner's going to be in the flat here, corner in the flat. These guys are going to be in little mid zones and then the whole half. But that's not really how football works with zone coverage. Zone coverage, it's not just getting into your spot and sitting there and staying there. It's about understanding where the threats are and getting depth in situations like this. So something that I just want to add here is, when we say cover 2, yes, Rhodes is probably more responsible for more of like a mid or the flat even. But when he recognizes this, his eyes need to be down here and he needs to get that depth.
Yeah. So we always, and it's pretty universal. The flat defender always carries the wheel.
Yep.
So Elijah Moore went flat. As the flat defender, Xavier Rhodes, I understand him, trying to squeeze that little shot right there. But the second Elijah Moore wheels up, he's now responsible for him. And that's just an error on his part.
Yeah, for sure. Something that you guys will always hear from us, and you'll hear anytime you really listen to anyone who knows ball talk about it, is zone in the NFL and even in college too, always becomes man somehow.
Yeah.
It always becomes man.
It'll become man. You relate to your nearest threat, and if you keep it that simple, if you go that simple terminology right there, Xavier Rhodes' nearest threat is number 8. So
Yep. So he needs to carry that there, and that's why it looked like such a wide open touchdown or a coverage bust. It was mostly just Rhodes with bad zone eyes there and his cover 2 drop. Now we got another red zone touchdown. This is kind of the theme again.
I thought we fixed it. I thought we fixed it
for a couple of weeks. Yeah, we did good. The Tennessee game, I think that they kind of shored it up outside of Rock getting beat on the 1. The Texans game, they didn't allow any touchdowns. We look good. And then, what are you going to do against Josh Johnson?
Yeah, man. Get forced.
Yeah, he's a tough quarterback, man, as lead as it comes. But here we got the safeties. And again, just to kind of preface this, guys, going into this game, Carey Willis was ruled out before the game. Julian Blackmon's out for the season. So the Colts were down to special teamer George Odom and then Sendejo, who we've talked about each week now, it seems like. So definitely not the greatest, way to succeed for the Colts defense. But they do need to be better than this. Here it's Elijah Moore again. It's kind of the Elijah Moore show. And what are you seeing from the safeties here? What do you think needs to happen here for them to take away this cross?
Communicate. I'm not sure if this corner was supposed to carry that. It looks like he was. He's pretty committed to that. But I think they got to communicate. When you see somebody flying across the field, they can't not be accounted for. Clearly, there's zone dropping right here at the bottom. Looks like they shifted to something. Either that safety he rotated too far to the middle, or that corner wasn't supposed to lock on that receiver. I'm not sure what they're running right here, personally, but maybe when he motioned, it became man for him, and that was just a horrible call for what they motioned into. A lot going on in this play.
Yeah, it looks like it motions into man. Let me see here, because I don't know. Because let me see what this. Yeah, because Kenny's getting the flat guy. So maybe on this backside it's man and the front side more zone. I don't know. That is tough.
Yeah. Well, there's an extra defender in the middle of the field. Who is that? 42.
Who right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Sendejo, 42.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I thought he was 30. Well, I thought
I think
anyway.
that's what he
Well,
was
yeah.
in Minnesota, was 30s.
Okay. Well, he so I think he may have got sucked too far into the middle. He was kind of just covering grass. If you watch him when they checked into the coverage, maybe he could have, because he didn't even see it. There's no reason for him to drop into the end zone that deep.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like his eyes are coming to this.
Well, even earlier, same thing happened though. His eyes were glued on the quarterback, and he never related to the threat crossing his face.
That's true.
Like watch, boom, boom, drop, and just let him free. So, yeah, I think they have to communicate, relate better. And like it was early in the year. The issue was communication. It wasn't necessarily I think even a call thing. I think it was bust, and it was guys being turned free, and that's what we're seeing right here.
Yeah, and how big, because obviously again we say this every week here, but you obviously played football at a pretty high level. How hard is it to, Sendejo the last couple of weeks has played alongside Willis out there, and he actually was only signed, I think 5 weeks ago or whatever it was. So he kind of steps in. He's only really communicating with Willis and then maybe Blackman. Now he's got a completely different guy in George Odom. How tough is kind of to build that chemistry when it comes to communication in the secondary?
It's a trust thing. So if you watch, a lot of times really good safeties have a lot of faith in their corners, and it allows them to take more chances. So that chemistry is everything. I know some of my best seasons happened when 2 of my best seasons happened when me and my corners were always on the same page, or the guy next to me on my safety was on the same page when I was playing nickel, because I can relate to you. I know where you're going to be. I know how you're going to play a lot of different things. And I know it's the NFL and you have to be ready to play at all times. But that chemistry does matter. It's a reason why, we saw how good the Legion of Boom was. Yeah. Those guys had chemistry on the field. They knew how each other played. They knew each other's styles. They knew each other's speed. I know he can cover this. I know what he can't cover. All those things matter. And especially in a game that's flying like that, I need faith. I need trust. I need communication on the back end for us to execute at a high level. And we talked about it earlier in the year. These guys we haven't had the same unit on the field often, maybe once or twice, maybe. But every time we get a decent group out there for the Colts, somebody gets hurt, somebody gets rolled up. So it's a lot of inconsistencies, and I would attribute a lot of that to, not great chemistry, not great communication back there.
Yeah, absolutely. As we speak again, Xavier Rhodes missed some practices this week, and he might not play this week too. So that's just to keep adding to it. But getting to our next clip here, last week we talked about, I would say, the play of the year for the defensive backs, and it will probably be the play of the year. I don't see anything really surpassing it. When Kenny Moore peeled off of his vertical route, picked off a deep dig by the Titans, nearly returned it for a touchdown. Just an outstanding play all around. Here, we kind of see the inverse of that. We see the good and the bad with this play. 3rd and short, just like there was a play we talked about earlier in the year where Kenny tried to jump a slant that wasn't his guy on the 3rd and short, or a 4th and short maybe. This is very, very similar. Kenny's playing the hot because the Colts are showing blitz against, again, a quarterback who just hasn't played that much. I don't mind this risk whatsoever. But here he's going to jump this flat route, or I think it's a little out route. Jumps that, leaves this guy open over the middle. With this.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I was like, you can live with this. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, that was a weird one, because at first I thought he just jumped it. But then it brought me to that special coverage I was talking about, where the slot defender, he plays outside leverage. He's reading 3 to 2. He takes 3 to the flat. Most of the time they're in off coverage. He's kind of in no man's land right there. And he sees that flat defender to the flat immediately. Obviously saw it was 3rd and short, 2nd and short.
It's 3rd and 4, I believe. Yeah.
So he's probably anticipating quick game. right? He's anticipating quick game. If he does have that 3 flat to the that read, he kind of did his job. But typically, you want him to buy that safety a little bit more time so he can come down and play that crosser, that slant, whatever it may be. That's just one of them chances you take. Great players take chances. He's reacting off instinct right there. And it's not a bad one. 10 out of 10 times, I'm probably not going to be mad at you on 3rd and 4 if you jump the short route. But he didn't, and they took advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is perfectly fine, especially given the situation of the game. I think it was 42-21 at this point. You can kind of take that chance there. Next one, we got a good clip. We got our boy Rock here at the top of the screen and a little bit of press against Denzel Mims. All right, I'm going to have you break down this clip here because I think for the most part, it's a good rep by him. But do you think anywhere he can be better here? What do you think overall about this clip? I'll play it as you talk.
Okay. And press coverage, shoots the hands right away. Good finish. It didn't do anything bad initially off the line. Let's say receiver got into his chest. He's kind of reaching just a little bit right there. But he's a physical cat. I don't hate it. The receiver created a little separation by initiating the contact, but great job of finishing through contact. Looks like he got his hand and his left arm in there and broke it up. He kind of opened up a little bit. I think now that I see it again, he opened up a little prematurely and gave up the inside, but he got hands on him. And so I think he knocked off the receiver's balance, and he finished the play. I talk about it all the time. Finishing the play is the most important thing. And it's not how you start that rep, it's how you finish it, and he killed it at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good rep by Rock and something that we like to see from a corner like him, a younger corner. Great job finishing, great job playing physical against a big receiver. Mims is I think 6'2", 6'3".
Is that a Baylor? Is that where he ended up? Okay.
Yep.
Oh yeah, he was in the doghouse. He was in the doghouse. I saw him down at the Senior Bowl a couple years ago, and he's talented. He's a good player.
Yeah, he's a physical guy. Now we have to go back to a negative play again, just because it's that day. The 2 safeties again. I think this is just a typical. I want to say cover 2. No, this is just man too high, I think, and then they're letting the vertical seam. It looks like. Let me actually look at this again, because it looks like man on the.
Oh man, switch. Huh. Who has that tight end?
Is the linebacker supposed to get the tight end? Maybe.
I'm curious. Because nobody got him. Is that we have 2 at the bottom?
2 at the bottom, right here, and then tight end.
Let me see who has the back.
Who has the back? It's going to be this side linebacker.
Maybe that safety is supposed to be fishing that 3rd receiver. A lot of times you'll have that backside safety fishing 3 vertical. But
would you want him to be right here when?
I think you don't want him to cross the center's face. I think ideally you want him to bump in some if he is doing that. And I think that's why when he noticed it, he said, "Oh shit!" Like he went right there. It's possible that's what was going on because there's nobody else really responsible. You got 1 safety helping out the 2 down here, and then you've got him fishing that tight end vertical because you're anticipating it, but you're hoping it doesn't happen.
Part of it looks like to me he's like right here. He's because he's a little lax if he's the guy in man right here. So part of it to me is him being like, okay, like the linebacker's got it or my other safety's going to get it. And then once he gets right here is when he's like, oh shit, like.
Yeah. So like, I know you typically, you have a little time because it looks like a low hole player right there in that backer. And you have a safety right there. So I'm responsible for basically 2.5 routes back there. I'm responsible for a crosser, a dig, whatever it may be, a post. And if the seam is right up the seam and that other safety is right there, maybe that's his. That's a tough spot to be in.
It's true though, because like other safety here is playing on that hash, and he looks like he's overplaying this guy getting vertical, but like that's not where your threat is, you know. Like, and he doesn't even get vertical.
Yeah, he went over top for no reason. That was just, I think the save. That's Sendejo again.
Yeah, Sendejo again.
I'm curious about his eyes. I mean, I know he was a playmaker, back in the day, but he's not seeing threats properly. And I think
he was only staring down the quarterback there. If
Yeah,
you
like
look at his eyes
he's
here.
in no man's land. He's not covering anything right now, but a spot. He's covering a spot. Watch, boom. He's not
Quarterback
covering
didn't even move
anything.
him with his eyes either. I wish I pulled up the other angle. I didn't cut the other angle, but look, the quarterback's not moving him with his eyes here. Quarterback's head stays on the scene the whole time.
Yeah, that's the third play we've seen, and that's kind of alarming because there are three big plays that can hurt you. He's not seeing threats right now. I think you get a more instinctive safety. Say if I have Tyrann Mathieu right there, that ball's picked off because he's not moving. Because one, he knows he's fast enough. He knows he's quick enough. There's not another threat. If we're throwing fades to the corner of the end zone, cool, we live with it. But we can't
Especially
give
on
up.
Kenny too. It would be on Kenny too.
Yeah,
So it's like
you gotta let your dogs play. And me personally at safety in an ideal situation, if I see him go out there, I'm gonna let that guy go free, and I'm gonna try to go make a play on this seam right here because that's the threat. That's the quickest threat coming at me.
Yeah. You know what? At first when I watched this, I thought it was more Odom, but yeah, you know what? This just has awful eyes. Terrible eyes.
Yeah, they're all over the place right now.
Oh man. Yeah, that's rough. He just gets moved for no reason. All right, well, let's end it on a good one. Let's end it on Rock again. Let's go back to our boy Rock.
Let's do it.
We got him down. Yeah, we got him down here in press man. And I love how aggressive he is with this because even though this isn't a top receiver by any means, this is Jeff Smith. Jeff Smith can fly a little bit. He's a guy who can get vertical and he can run. I think he was like a 4.3s type of guy. So I like Rock having the confidence to take him like this. And then just really good patience there. Pinches him to the sideline.
We're running. Yep.
Really nice.
I love that rep. I love that rep because he didn't panic. There's a couple reps. I think one rep that I showed you of the two college guys, McCreary and Dotson. When you get two guys that can run, or you get a good cover guy who's really physical, and you get a receiver that can fly, and you see the corner not panic and stay in phase and force their receiver to make an incredible play. There's not a lot more things that are more impressive to me when I see a cornerback go downfield, keep his composure, wall off a receiver, and get an incompletion. I love that.
Yep. And I don't have the numbers pulled up, but this is a big, big improvement from Rock that we saw the last 2 years because I believe, and again, number might be a little off, but I believe he had like 14 to 15 penalties the last 2 years combined. I want to say
in coverage.
Yeah, in coverage. Yeah.
So he's averaging almost one a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. That's a composed corner right there. He's not freaking out. He's running and we're playing ball.
Yeah. So far this year, he just has the one, and it came in this past game, late in the game. But my favorite part of this rep is right here. Look how square he's staying the whole time. We've seen a couple reps from him this year and from other guys this year where they're a little off balance, but right when he opens up and lets that receiver go vertical, he's staying square the whole time. He's staying balanced. Doesn't lose his balance whatsoever, and he's able to keep up with the guy who's much faster than him.
And he's still moving his feet. Yeah, he kept his position. He was square, but he opened up a little bit, but he kept moving his feet. You cover with your feet. Bad corners cover with their eyes, and they get rocked. No pun intended right there. But good corners move their feet and they cover and they gang around, and then they get in position, they get in phase, get their head around, and they get incompletions. And then that's how you play like a cornerback one, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you were referencing when you talked about the tweet yesterday or the other day. No, they don't need a Jalen Ramsey. It'd be nice, but they just need a corner that they can put out there against other teams, number ones or 1Bs, whoever it may be, and compete. So they're not getting torched like they did early in the season.
Yep, absolutely. So good rep here by Rock to kind of end what was pretty much an ugly game for the Colts defensive backs. We don't even have run stop of the week this week, guys. It was that kind of game. We love talking about run stops too. We love talking about run stops, and we didn't even get to it this week. We got a couple questions here from Twitter because we were going to do this live stream, but some scheduling stuff came up, and then also the fact that we were going to be shitting on the Colts throughout this whole episode probably wasn't the best one to go live. The best. I could already see the comments being all like Andrew Sandejo sucks and
he's awful. I'm like, bro, relax.
We got a couple here though. We got this one's from Colts Guy 505. Let me run that again. Lots of people complain about the soft zone coverage practice of the defense, but would the Colts DBs be able to match 1v1 and man coverage against legit receivers? And I think that's a great question because I don't know if they could against, like legit receivers. We saw a couple reps early this year against like the Rams, for instance, where they tried to go some man and the Rams were able to kind of beat them a little bit. But do you think that these corners that the Colts have could maybe not go man-to-man the entire game, but mix in even more press and man stuff?
I don't think they have the horses.
No.
Right? Think about it. If I want to run man, I need corners that are there. I need corners that are healthy. I need corners that can run, right? Rock has played half the games this year. Xavier Rhodes has been banged up all year. Isaiah Rodgers, you could throw him out there. He can match up physically, but is he ready to be, in a corner receiver one's face? And then you have to ask yourself, are they just obviously philosophically for the defense, they're playing more zone stuff, but it's probably better to be bend, don't break, as opposed to you go man, you get beat, you're torched.
Yeah.
Right. If I tackle a guy, I live to fight another day. But if I'm in third man, I got, whoever on Elijah Moore and he lights me up for 160 or whatever it may be, if it just, hypothetically, then, there's nobody to look at. If I'm in zone, I can force these quarterbacks to make bad throws, or maybe we get a tip ball and I have a guy behind it, we get an interception, bend, don't break mentality, right? Because I know I don't have all the horses to play defense at an elite level, but we can play zone, we can rattle to the ball, we can get turnovers.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the best way for the Colts to go about it, I'm not saying don't mix in more press and more man. I think with Rock and even with Rodgers when he's out there, they do kind of have the ability to do more of it.
Yep.
But from a philosophical standpoint, on like a defensive philosophy, the Colts right now, I think, are first in run defense, first in turnovers forced. And a big reason for that is because of their zone principles. They're going to bend, not break, make the offense run more plays against you. The more plays they run, the more likely it is that they're going to make a mistake. So, I think it's fine for what it is. I mean, some of the softer bracket coverage is maybe a little too far off for my liking too, and they kind of leave the flats a little too open. But for the most part, I think it's fine with who they have. Now, I think if they were to get, like I tweeted the other day, like an alpha type corner, and they had Willis and Blackman both healthy, then maybe it's a different story. Maybe they can play some more man. But right now, with Xavier Rhodes kind of on his last legs, two backup safeties, Rock and Rodgers kind of going through some growing pains, I just feel like they would get torched.
It's not something I really want to see at the moment. Like you said, maybe if they acquire another corner, or maybe they move some guys around. But nah, not right now. They're doing fine. Anytime you're top 5 in any defensive categories, you're doing something right. But like I said, they've been super banged up.
Yeah, for all of our bashing each week, I think they're 11th overall in DVOA. They are 25th in pass defense, though, I believe, along with, I think they've allowed the most passing touchdowns in the NFL. So there are some things to clean up. But for the most part, number 1 run defense, number 1 in turnovers, almost a top 10 unit overall. So you kind of live with that. They're giving the offense chances to win games. Next one, we got Kenny has been so good in the past and blitzing from the slot. Why are we not seeing that as much? Is it because they don't trust the rest of the coverage? This comes from our boy, Matt Meveringer. I hope I said his last name right, but he's always on all of our live streams. So I apologize if this was not a live stream, Matt. But like you said when we were going over the questions before, they kind of need him in coverage right now, right?
Yeah, he's I get it. Like, I love nickel blitzes and star blitzes and all that good stuff. I love it. But if you don't have the guys on the back end to cover up for that guy being gone, you're in trouble. And so Kenny's one of the better playmakers back there when you look at, how instinctive he is and how sticky he is in coverage at times. I want him back there. I want him back there making plays and doing what he does. I don't want to really take him out of his zone right now because he's doing good. He's battling. He's been by far the best player in the secondary, I think. And you let him do his thing in a different situation. Yeah, mix it up, send him off the edge some. But for now, Kenny, stay at home and cover your ass off.
Yeah, for sure. And I think another reason why we're seeing it is I know you haven't seen it as much as I have because I've watched every defensive snap and you're kind of just getting clips each week. But the linebackers are not that great in coverage. They're not. From what you've seen, you've been able to.
Yeah, I've noticed it though. Even when I go back and watch, they kind of drift, or they're not as effective as I feel like they could be, because I don't see a lack of length or just athleticism. I just don't think they're great at it.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah, I agree. I completely agree. And I think that's why we're seeing whenever the Colts do run a zone blitz, it's more they'll drop like a defensive end into coverage into one of the short coverages and then bring Leonard and Okereke, or bring one of those two guys. Because I think, and this isn't my way of trying to bash either of Okereke or Leonard, but like a defensive end in coverage probably isn't that much worse than what they're doing.
run stoppers, they're attacking machines.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, Okereke's played great football these last couple of weeks in terms of run defense. Leonard is, leading the NFL in turnovers forced for a reason, or he's second behind Trayvon Diggs, I believe. So they're good at some of the things they do, but I think in coverage, while we're seeing more zone blitzes with the linebackers, it's because those guys aren't, they're not top coverage linebackers, and they never really will be. That's just kind of who they are. They're playmakers. Especially Leonard. Leonard is an absolute playmaker, but if you need him to lock up a guy one-on-one or anything,
he needs a compliment cover backer next to him. He needs one of them guys to help, free him up, so he doesn't have to worry about that.
Yep, I completely agree. That's the most we'll say about it, because you guys will come for my throat on Twitter.
Defensive player of the year. What do you mean?
Dude, look, you can still be defensive player of the year, but have some noticeable flaws. Trayvon Diggs is allowing the most yards in coverage this year, and he's probably the favorite.
Bro, I had an argument with my kids, because like I'm down here in Texas and they love the Cowboys, and they're like, "Is Trayvon Diggs a top 5 corner?" I said, "No." So he's not even a top 10 corner. I was like, he's a playmaker. I was like, yeah, he's doing his thing. I was like, he's got a good upside, and I'm a Bama guy. I'm a huge Trayvon Diggs fan. He is not there yet. There's a reason. Okay, if you get 7 interceptions, there's 2 reasons why. Right? Typically, 1, you have great ball skills. You don't drop anything. You got great instincts. 2, either teams are not afraid of you and they keep throwing the ball at you, and they just see something. You're like, okay, well, I'll take throwing 1 pick and him giving up 140 yards.
Yeah,
he bites on every double move ever. Like, you know what I mean? The kid, he hasn't figured that part out yet, but he's good. He's still improving. But yeah, that doesn't make you the best. Still flaws in your game.
The way I'll add it is, it's like, I think there's top 10 corners and like lockdown guys, and there's top 10 like most valuable corners, and he's probably up there in terms of value because of what he takes away from offenses.
I want the ball. Give me the ball.
Yeah, but there's some things you got to live with when you have a playmaker.
Yeah, so
it's kind of the same way, but linebacker kind of the same way.
Man. Huge production, but you live with it though. So
the net positive is still there. The net positive. Is
SC State. Ain't that where he went? South Carolina State.
Yep, South Carolina State. Yep. Next one we got from Cranium Uranium. His name on Twitter is actually like Gary Busey. It has a picture of Gary Busey or something, and a bunch of like kids with Gary Busey's face. I don't know. It's funny to me every time. But have you seen much doubling or bracketing on opponents' number 1 receivers by our defensive backs? I really haven't seen much of it, and I don't really think much of that exists too much in the NFL.
You gotta let your guys play. A lot of teams, they run a lot of man. Teams switch up some coverage. A lot of 2-man you'll see in the NFL. That's about as much as of a bracket that you'll see. 2-man. If I have a good slot receiver or somebody over there and win 2-man, I tell that safety to help out this guy a little bit more. That's about it. Those guys are there for a reason. They pay them to cover, and if you can't do it, then we'll find somebody else that will. That's about it. You'll get some 2-man though, and they'll bracket them, or they make game plan or something like that, but it's not super, 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 super common.
Yeah, the most you'll get is like, hey, Xavier Rhodes is on a fast guy over there, like maybe shade a little bit more that way. But that's, I think the Patriots are probably the best example of teams that do bracket, but that's only in extreme situations too. Though.
Like Waller or if Randy Moss,
they have J.C. Jackson and all those guys too. They have ballers.
Well, even when they were killing it, when they had the McCourties and Chung and all those guys, they were choking people out because they would eliminate, and that's one of his philosophies. But they would eliminate your top threat no matter what. Like, okay, cool. Odell coming to town. Watch this.
Yeah.
3 catches, 24 yards. Like,
Yep.
yeah, it's over for you.
Yep. And the thing is why they can do it again, like you said, with Chung and McCourty and all them. So say they're going against a Darren Waller, they can put 2 safeties on him or something, or a safety and a linebacker. But then on the outside, J.C. Jackson's one-on-one, he's going to be able to lock down the guy. Or Stephon Gilmore is one-on-one, he can lock down the guy.
Yep.
With the Colts, say you have, let's say this past week, Elijah Moore is the guy on a break. Let's say. I feel better about it because it's the Jets, but like you need Rock to consistently win one-on-one and man. You need, Kenny, Xavier Rhodes. You need these other guys who are not going to be on that guy to win one-on-one and man all game long. And like we said with the first question, I don't know if that's going to work with this defense.
Not yet. We don't know yet.
Yeah, and then he has another one. It goes back again to the press man versus the caliber of corner with press man with our guys. And yeah, I like the last part, just depending on situations and matchups. I do think they can do more, man, but
I think definitely in the red zone. In the red zone, I think it's something that they need to explore. If you have Rock and you have Xavier Rhodes, like when he has 15 yards to cover, leave him out there. I'm all for it. He's a big body, he's a long guy. And press is his thing. And Rock, he's a physical guy by nature. That's his playing style. I think that's probably the most likely situations. But aside from that, no, not right now. We saw early in the year, we saw some of the guys in man situations, they got lit up, and a lot of those great throws and gets great receivers, but not at the moment. It's not ideal.
Yeah, for sure. And our last one was my favorite question we got because it just goes with our show. Is Rock Ya-Sin doing that good? Really? By Norton Jr. 75. And
he all we got, man.
It's all we got. It's our favorite. He's a favorite on the outside. And I think part of it's probably our bias because we liked him as a draft prospect. But also, again, the last 2 years, Rock Ya-Sin has been a super inconsistent, streaky corner. His rookie year, at the end of the year, he looked really good. The front half of the year was bad. All of last year was pretty bad for him. Tons of penalties over the last 2 years. This year, what we're seeing is a guy who's not getting as many penalties. I think when targeted, I think he's only allowed 6 yards per target this year, which is very strong. He's not getting targeted that much.
Look at him. Like he's like, think about early in the year, we weren't getting ball production. And I know Isaiah Rodgers grabbed a couple and Kenny Moore grabbed a couple, but look at the pass breakups. Like we weren't getting a lot of breakups, and like Rock Ya-Sin inserts him in and he's getting them right away. Because he's on guys, he's finishing plays, he's right on them, he's dialed in, and he finishes more than anything.
Yep. And I think there are definitely some growing pains. He's getting beat by some guys, some speed outs are getting him. There's ones where he's playing a little too high. But I think as of this, the way that I would describe how he's played is probably like a low tier to mid tier corner, depending on the week, like a low to mid starting corner in the NFL. Very, very good corner too. Like I'm impressed with just how he's able to bounce back after how awful last year was, and he's putting some good film out there. And that's all I really wanted going into the year from Rock Ya-Sin, just a positive season. And so far, it's been a very positive season in a year where the secondary has not been very good for the Colts. So when we talk about how good he's played every week, it's not that he's like, oh, here's the next Jalen Ramsey. Like
the expectations were never really high. And I think that's the difference. If you don't have high expectations and you meet those expectations, everything else is a bonus.
Yeah. And I think we're getting a lot of good bonus from him. Like I think, each week we find a couple clips where it's like, he's playing sound, he's not panicking, and he's making some plays. So I've enjoyed how he's played this year. I think if they had Xavier Rhodes the way Rhodes was playing last year, even, I think he'd be looking, a lot better right now. But because Rhodes is getting beat a bit and because the overall defense doesn't look very good when it comes to pass coverage, some people are still not really there on Rock. But I think Rock's playing some good football, probably the best football of his career outside of that second half of his rookie year. We got to see if it just lasts the rest of the year is the big thing. He's only played 6 games, I think, this year.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm impressed with how he's played, though. I'm happy he was able to bounce back as someone who really liked him as a prospect.
I'm glad he's on the field, man. I'm just glad he's on the field.
Yep, he's back healthy again this week. And again, I think Xavier Rhodes is going to miss this game. So we're never going to have someone healthy for this defense. Something I wanted to ask you, because you just went through these clips with me and you kind of got to see my pain the last couple of weeks of Andrew Sandejo.
Mm-hmm.
And George Odom, I think, hasn't been out there, so it was tough for him. But on the practice squad right now, the Colts have Josh Jones. Oh, I think they actually elevated Josh Jones. So they have Josh Jones elevated to the roster.
Mm-hmm.
They have Jaleel Adai on the practice squad. I think Ibrahim Campbell, I think, on the practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just activated TJ Carey off the IR. So they have options to throw at safety. Do you think they need to change up something with Sandejo back there?
Yeah. You know, I know Adai's a vet, but after this game, I'm sitting in there on Sunday as a coach. And I know Sandejo's basically a coach out there. He knows his stuff, but like, hey, we need some legs out there, somebody that can get it done. And I think they definitely went to the drawing board, and I would too. You have a game like that, I think you'll be doing the team a disservice if you don't. And I know it's hard out there, but at the end of the day, your safety and you got to do your job. And like, I don't know exactly his assignment, so I could be blowing smoke, but I think he could have played a lot better. And I think if you have to give somebody else a shot at some point, because if it's going to be that bad, then let's be bad with an athletic guy in there,
or a younger guy.
Like, let's be bad. Let's try to bring somebody along so we have somebody to plug in maybe next year. But I think you definitely have to reevaluate and see what's going on, and possibly give somebody else another opportunity back there.
Yeah, I think the most interesting one to me is TJ Carey still. They had him there in the offseason a little bit, working as their third safety. I think he played safety a little bit for the Raiders too. And he's 31 years old now. So he's not as freaky of an athlete that he was, but he's a 7th round corner who stuck. So he's got a little dog in him.
Yeah.
I want to see him back there just because I know he can play.
How old is Adai now? I feel like Adai's been in the league forever.
Oh man, I think he's late 20s, early 30s. Let me see.
There's no way he's late 20s.
Let me see.
31. Yeah.
31. Okay. Yeah. He was big with the Chargers, like a special teamer.
He was there for a while. He became a starter. But his brother's the DB coach at Georgia. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Cool. We got to get him to talk and to get some of those Georgia players to Indy next year.
Hey, for real. If it's one position that Georgia's not doing well at, it's safety. They're banged up. They're a lot like the Colts. Like they're really banged up. I think they have maybe a walk-on on their 2 deep now. At corner though, everywhere else they're loaded. They're absolutely loaded. But safety,
I mean, do you have enough time to even throw the ball down the field against Georgia right now? Even with Anderson gone. Yeah, that's crazy. Unless you got the Jameson Williams out there, I don't think you got enough time. Hey, that kid can fly. Yeah, that's true.
So that was my thing. I have to talk to people all the time. I'm like, Georgia's the best team in the country this year. I was like, but if they get behind, I don't know if they can win. And they're like, why? I'm like, they're not built for it. I was like, there's only one team that has, I know Bama's O-line's been shaky, that has the O-line talent, and they have the receivers to get behind them. It's Alabama and Ohio State. Those are the only 2 teams. So I'm interested to see what happens in them games, and I can't wait to see, I know I talk about corners and Colts, but, there's some fun matchups coming up in college football. Maybe the Colts grab a couple of those guys. Those teams are all right. They put out a decent amount of players. So
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about it more later in the season about how the Colts need their alpha corner, and they also probably need a third safety or maybe second safety, if you want to have Carey Willis kind of play more in the box. But they definitely need some help in the secondary. And it's looking like, as long as they bring in like a veteran on the defensive line and maybe like a deep threat receiver, like defensive back should be the biggest focus going forward. That's the biggest focus. So it's definitely something that we'll be talking about more on this show as we go forward. But yeah, guys, this was hopefully this was rock bottom. Hopefully this is the rock bottom. They got the Jaguars this week and Trevor Lawrence, who's been very iffy this year at best. So this should be I think he's second in the NFL in interceptions or third in the NFL in interceptions. This is
people are real quiet about Trevor.
They don't want to talk about it.
The other quarterbacks get criticized a lot more. Like, Mac had his struggles early. He's doing well now, and
Justin Fields gets ripped apart all the time.
Had a horrible game, but then like he's made a couple plays. I don't know if there's like There's maybe one other quarterback in NFL that can do some of the stuff he's done. And then you got Lance is still on the shelf, and missing with Zach Wilson has been in, but nobody talks about Trevor.
Mike White's been taking Zach Wilson's job apparently.
Look, nobody talks about Trevor, and one day we'll talk about it. Maybe he's the next Peyton Manning, maybe he's not, but y'all got to start holding these picks accountable, man. Like y'all, you can't just I can't beat up Justin Fields and then give Trevor Lawrence a pass.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah.
So
even with Urban Meyer as the coach, like wait,
run the ball, run the ball. Like,
well, not against the Colts. There's nothing. There's nothing dumber that you could do than run the ball against the Colts. I've number 1 rush defense in DVOA. I think number 5 in yards per carry.
Yeah,
25th in pass yards. And
throw the ball. Throw the ball.
Throw the ball. No. If this is another team watching this episode and they're thinking of ways to tighten the Colts, run the ball, please. But
if you want to beat the Colts, run deep crossers and post routes. You'll win every time.
Yeah. Every time. But hopefully, the Jaguars come out and run the ball 60 times in this game. Colts will win by a landslide.
Yep.
But yeah, guys, tune in next week. Hopefully it's not as grim. And hopefully again, this past week against Josh Johnson was rock bottom. It can only go up from here. But appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure to check next week for another episode of Into the DB Film Room.